Hey everyone, welcome to the Dynasty Evaluation Show. I'm John McGlynn, and we have a show tonight. Shane Manilla here with our guy Tre Harris as our rookie spotlight. We are ready to talk some rookie wide receivers today. Let's go.
McGlynn is in. I repeat, McGlynn is in. Let the fun begin. This is the Commissioner Evaluation Podcast with your host, John McGlynn.
Was that Herms?
He got them guests on the Rolodex, stopping by to talk about some Dynasty Superflex. Everybody, yo, commish is in. It's time to sit down to listen to John McGlynn. Yo, who we trading, who we fading, who we getting off the squad. Knowledge never overrated, playing for number one. And yo, McGlynn is in. It's time to let the fun begin. It's the Commissioner Evaluation Podcast with John McGlynn.
Yo, thank you everybody for joining us today. We have a great show coming up. We are doing our rookie spotlights, and we started off earlier with a quarterback. We did a tight end, Shedeur Sanders. Then we just did Elijah Arroyo, and now we have a wide receiver. So, Shane, why don't you introduce yourself? I met you in person at the Expo. It's nice. It's always nice when I get to talk to people who I see in the see on the internet in person, get to shake their hands, have a beer with them, that kind of stuff like that. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, all this, where everybody can find you at, all the stuff that's awesome about Shane Says.
So, we met at the Expo. I've gone to the Expo every year of its existence. Sans the COVID year because no one was allowed. It was illegal to be around people. I believe that was what happened. But no, I've been doing fantasy football for a very long time, a very, very long time. When I started this, I was old, and now I'm even older. So that's no fun. And I was very bad at it too. So I have a show, Shane Says, on DD Fantasy Football YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, please. Trying to get to 3K. And it's funny, there's a message on there from someone that I was in a league with, like, I don't even know how long ago, like 9 years ago. And he was like, I've never seen anyone run a team into the ground as bad as you did. And it was true, man. Absolutely true. Like, I was terrible. I don't win everything now, but at least I feel like I have a process. And that's probably what most people know me from Dynasty Trades at 5, right? Process over players. We try to be player agnostic. I try to be player agnostic. Obviously some player love seeps into that. But as much as I can, I try to be player agnostic. So you got me on Shane Says on the DD Fantasy Football YouTube channel, and then Dynasty Trades at 5, and then Manic and Chill on the DD Fantasy Football channel on Wednesdays, and that's it. Just those three shows. That's it.
Well, that's it, huh?
Yeah.
That's enough to do. I love the Trades in 5 show. I love all the stuff you guys do. It's good stuff, man. I mean, everybody loves trading. Everybody loves talking about trades. Everybody loves all that kind of stuff. It's I think everybody's been at a point where they switched from Redraft to Dynasty, and they thought they knew what they were doing, and they traded all the older guys away who were 25 and 26 years old for rookie draft picks and sank their whole team, just Titanic their entire team because of it. So that's my claim to fame there. Hell yeah, Shane, go Birds.
Go Birds. It's
Birds.
Great. I'll say this, man. It's pretty awesome. Just walk around town and everybody's just go Birds, go Birds, go Birds. If they lose, it's going to be fucking ugly, but excuse my French. It's going to be.
I'm like the excitement, the calm before the storm, and you hope the storm's great and not horrible.
Right. Yeah.
So
people still walk around here saying go Bears, and we haven't done shit in 20 years. So
oof. Yeah. I can relate. The most of my life, not my adult life, but probably half of my life. I'll say that half of my life, the Eagles were not good. We had Rich Kotite and some other jabronis coaching, and it was just not good. And the team got much, much better after Jeffrey Lurie bought it, and they had a serious adult in the room to actually run the team. So can't complain now, though, right?
You had Randall Cunningham, Reggie White, all you
and they won one playoff game with Randall Cunningham, who is the godfather of the mobile quarterback, who if he would have had any type of coaching or offensive system to, what's the word I'm looking for, accentuate, utilize him correctly, would have blown away Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, all those dudes. He was a great thrower, great runner, just shit offenses.
He was everybody's favorite back in the day.
I've got a Randall Cunningham signed helmet here behind me that my dad got me as a kid because I didn't grow up an Eagles fan, but I loved Randall Cunningham. And I always wanted to play with the Eagles on every video game ever growing up just because of Randall Cunningham. I have a Tecmo Super Bowl career season going on with the Eagles just because Randall Cunningham's the quarterback. And I love running the ball with him and throwing. He's just awesome.
Yeah,
ultimate weapon. He was the ultimate weapon.
You can't play with Bo Jackson. You can't play with Randall Cunningham. Those are cheat codes. You can't. Those teams are off limit when you play in a tournament or with somebody else.
Well, I also love because on that version, Tecmo Super Bowl, Herschel Walker is on the Eagles playing running back. So I love it. Herschel Walker and Randall Cunningham. I'm like, so two of my favorite players as a kid growing up. So I'd love to still play with those guys on that game. All the new games are so freaking ridiculously awesome as far as they look real, but I still love those old Tecmo games. They're great.
It's right behind me. I got it myself right here. We still have those. We got to have a couple beers. We play for. We should. You got to chug a beer if you lose, that kind of stuff in the garage when there's nothing to do in the summertime. So yes, I'm there too, brother. I love it. Tecmo Bowl was made. JT, where can everybody find you at? What's going on, man?
Before I say all that, I will sell. If you guys haven't gone on to DD on the YouTube channel and watched the mock drafts they've been doing, all the different versions, get on there. They're fantastic. I've been watching them. You guys have been doing an awesome job doing like 2 tight end, 2 QB, super. I mean, across the board, love them. We've got one going on later on after this show on the Stew with JT Brew. We're going to do a super flex 1 PPR 1.5 tight end premium, but you guys been doing a bunch over there on DD. I've been watching them on YouTube left and right. So if you guys haven't gone over and checked those out, jump on there and check those out. Great. My buddy John Bauer was on one a little bit while back, and so I saw that. I was like, oh, I got to start watching all these. I just started watching all of them. So definitely go over and check that out. You can find me at JT Orange on the X. All my writing, all my rookie stuff right now is on DLF. So you can go over there and look at all those if you're a member over there. I've got all my stuff written up on those. So, and then I'm on here with you, John, Fantasy and Frames, on my show, the Stew with JT Brew. Got a bunch of mock drafts coming out, and we're doing all the rookie spotlights on Dynasty evaluation. So I'm having a blast, man. We've been knocking these out. They've been super fun with all special guests and everybody that we haven't, either new people we haven't seen or people we haven't seen in a while.
That's right. Peter Nova's here. He can't leave us alone. He was just out with for an hour talking about Elijah Arroyo, and now he won't leave.
Love it. Love it.
Love it. He was a great show, Pete. Thanks a lot very much. I'm John McGlynn, John McGlynn 75 on X. That's pretty much I'm here in Fantasy and Frames, Dynasty Evaluation. This is my show. This is what I like to do. We try to fit as many shows as we possibly can when we have time, and we've been kind of killing it the last couple of weeks. 3 or 4 a week as far as rookie profiles are concerned. This is a rookie profile series, and we're having a great time doing it. So hopefully we hit all the rookies. We're trying to get like 25 running backs, 25 wide receivers, 10 tight ends, 10 quarterbacks, and maybe we'll start some defensive players if we get far enough and there's nothing else to do, just because JT loves defensive players so much. And
John, if we did an IDP, I wouldn't even know what to do. I don't even know what to do if you let me do IDP on this show. That would be a crazy day. We'd definitely be out of all the players if you let me do IDP.
That was more of a cock tease. It ain't gonna happen.
I know you're just kidding with me.
All right, here we go, Shane. So what we did here was we asked everybody who they wanted to talk about, pick a player. You had picked a quarterback first, and then you switched to a guy who played quarterback and now plays wide receiver. So why don't you tell me about your guy, Tre Harris, all the goods, all the analytics, all the test scores, all the film, all the stuff you see the highlights, stuff like that. Give me all the good stuff that is Tre Harris.
So first of all, the quarterback was going to be Jackson Dart, but then everyone has him going in the first at this point. So although my guy, Tre Harris, I'm bouncing around. I should probably just follow the actual order of the show sheet. Yeah, so let's do that. We'll do the order of the show sheet that you took the time to make up. I mean, film, I'm not a film guy, right? That's not my strength. I can see when players look really good. I can see that this dude's got he's got an ability to get open and make deep plays, even if his speed isn't elite, but he can definitely make deep plays. He's not only that, he's going to be an X receiver. He's big, 6'3", 210. When we get to the combine, it might be less, but I'll say this just as an aside to that. When I went to the Senior Bowl, a lot of the weights and heights were measuring up with what the colleges were saying players were, which isn't always the truth. But right now, he's 6'3", 210, and it's hard not to be reminded of A.J. Brown when you look at him. It's obviously the powder blue jerseys, Ole Miss. It's the play style, right? He's physical, but also can be a deep threat, even though I don't think he has burner speed. Like, I don't know what AJ Brown's run 40 was, to be honest with you, but I don't think he's a 4.3 guy. You know what I mean? I don't think Tre Harris will be in there, but I think Tre Harris, similar to AJ Brown, he could make deep plays, right? Because he's a good route runner, that I know. So as far as the analytics, we talked about him before we jumped on, my buddy John Bauer. I said, John, I've been trying to dig up stats. I suck at this. Give me some analytics, dude, because that's his show, right? He loves pulling them out. So my dude went and said, okay, I got you. So here's just some of the fun things, right? He's first in all of FBS, 10.47 yards per route run against man this year, man coverage. Perfect quarterback rating when targeted against man. So probably not a guy you want to just line up a cornerback on and say, have at it, because he's just going to decimate them. Second in all of FBS in yards route run against zone, 4.08. So, there are some wide receivers that are better against man and some that are not as good against zone, because they do take different skill sets, right? In zone, you got to find the opening, and you got to learn to sit down, and you got to learn not to drift, right? Those are the things you need to do. So it seems like, based on his analytics, that he's good at both that. He's good against man and zone. He was first in college football, 5.15 total yards per route run. He has a 61.5 contested catch rate, on the higher side is what John told me. He had a dominator rating. I don't know if people still use this, but he had a college dominator rating of 38%. So he's 9th among the rookie wide receivers, the notable ones coming in, right? Not the guys from, I'll make fun of his previous school, Louisiana Tech, coming into the league. 7.7 yards yak per reception, 3.9 yards per team pass attempt. So just a lot of things to look at, right? Like, what you want is, like, film looks good. You want the production profile to look good, and you want to be able to point to the analytics and go, yeah, this guy's probably pretty good. He's probably pretty good, right? I'm not a scout, but like I said, I can look at film and I can look at things and go, oh yeah, I can make that determination. We'll get into it later, but he reminds me a lot of AJ Brown, which is high praise. Obviously, he's not going to be AJ Brown. The chances are very slim that he'll be AJ Brown, because that's a very, very special wide receiver. Michael Anthony, go Birds.
It's very rare that someone looks like shit on paper and is very good on the field too. I mean, it's not a coexisting how do you call it, equilibrium, I guess you'd call it. Like, those two stats are not the kind of they don't go together very well. You see someone who's really good on paper, a lot of times you look and they're really good on film too. So it's something that you want to see. That's the moth to the light kind of. Okay, I see these stats. Let me see what's good on film here. Or else you see somebody and you're like, wow, that guy was good. You look him up and you see nothing but these glaring stats. That's when it goes with the analytical community, goes with the film community. The guy's good. So,
right.
JT, why don't you tell me some good stuff about this guy?
Yeah, so while he was making, Shane was making some comparisons to AJ Brown. I just looked up AJ Brown's draft profile from back when he was getting drafted. I went to NFL.com, wanted to see kind of how they compared. So AJ Brown's 6'1.5", so you got 6'3" on Tre Harris, so he got a little bit taller. He's not quite as thick as AJ Brown. AJ Brown about 225, Harris about 210. But again, I think, like Shane's saying, two guys that play, I think, a little bigger and a little faster than their technical 40 time. AJ was clocked in at 4.49. Right now, the estimate for Tre is about a 4.55. I think he plays faster than that, can be faster than that. So if he's closer to like a 4.5 flat, that's right where AJ Brown is. And then, believe me, no one looks at AJ Brown and is like, oh yeah, he's not that fast. No, AJ Brown can cook. So I think that's I like that. And the fact is, a lot of the guys come out now it seems like everybody's a smaller slot receiver. We talk about every year is like the smaller slot guy. And when you can get these guys that are a pure X, I just really like them. And there's been a couple guys that have come out the last couple years that just haven't quite hit yet. And I think Tre Harris is a guy that's going to hit. I loved him. John, we talk about all the time. I play CFF, C2C. I loved him at Louisiana Tech. I picked him up at Louisiana Tech. I'm like, oh, this guy is good. He's putting up stats. I think he's got a chance. This is when everybody started transferring. I'm like, I think this guy has got a shot to go to the next level. And then when he chose Ole Miss, I was fired up. I was like, if he can go there and hit, this will be special. Had a fantastic season, almost 1,000 yards coming in this year. I was pumped about what he could do this year. Coming in this year, I mean, the injury slowed him down, but holy crap, if you look at what he did before he got hurt, I mean, he was just off the charts good. Only played in 8 games this year, but in those 8 games, he had 60 catches for 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns, almost over 17 yards per reception. I mean, he was a deep threat bomb. I mean, Jackson Dart, I tell you what, Jackson Dart was really good this year. He struggled a bit when Tre Harris was out. It took him a little while to figure out a few other guys to give him the ball to. Tre Harris was just great. I think right now it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up going in the draft. We'll talk about that later. But he, for me, is in my top 5, and he's probably right now my wide receiver 4 in this class. I just really like Tre Harris. I think there's just a lot to like about him. A guy that took a shot, high end 2-star, maybe a low 3-star on some ratings. So a guy that had to kind of work his way up. But sometimes you see those guys that get to that next level and they just don't have the juice to compete at that next level. Tre Harris showed he did. I just like everything about him. He would have had a special year for Ole Miss this year if he wouldn't have got hurt. I mean, the stats he would have put up would have been insane. I mean, he only played 8 games and still was like in the top 30 in the nation in receiving yards, which is just crazy.
And, just you want to look at level of competition, right? It's one thing to be like, oh, he's in the SEC, so it's automatically better, right? So, but you really want to dig in, right? Like, what did he do against the good teams? Well, LSU is his personal bitch. 100 yards this year, over 150 yards last year. Last year, 2023 had the more impressive, like based on strength of schedule type of, you know what I mean? Like this year, Georgia Southern, he dropped 225, which is cool. But you're like, yeah, but what would you do? He's destroyed Penn State, Texas A&M, LSU every year, like Florida, like not this year, but he's done it against the elite teams too, right? It's not just Georgia Southern that he's running out there. So that is part of the thing that really, really speaks to me too, because level of competition does matter. He's not doing this in the ACC. He's not doing this in the old Pac-10. He's doing this in the SEC, and he's doing it against really, really good teams.
And the guy's a touchdown machine. I mean, 7 touchdowns in 8 games this year. 8 touchdowns in 11 games the year before, 10 touchdowns in 12 games the year before. And then as a freshman, just moving to wide receiver, had 4 touchdowns in 12 games. So 29 career touchdowns in 43 games.
Yeah.
That's a pretty nice, solid, per game average for him. He's a guy that can find the end zone. There's a lot of teams that need a nice X. I just think that he's going to be a guy that's going to be on a lot of draft boards.
And having a solid X receiver to open up your entire offense is something that a lot of teams don't have the luxury of having. I mean, there's a handful of big dudes in this class, Tat, and excuse me. There's a handful of big dudes in this class, but I tell you what, man, it's going to be nice to have a guy who is 6'3", solid, that could jump and get the ball, that he's got good hands, things like that. So I'm super excited to see where he goes. Hopefully, he just feels like I don't know. We'll talk about that in a minute, I guess. It just runs in my head. I'm so excited to talk about landing spots, but he's someone that I'm super excited about in the NFL. Like you said, JT, with those stats, he's in everybody's top 5 for that matter. So I'll leave it at that. But what are some bad things that not flattering things that you've seen so far about Tre Harris on tape and analytics, things like that. Shane, what's some things that people should be concerned about, concerning issues with Tre Harris?
So I'm not actually concerned about these things, but our community knocks people for wide receivers, especially. He's a older prospect. He's going to be 23 this month. So if he's watching, happy birthday. So he'll be a 23-year-old rookie, which, sure, he's not an early declare, right? He played 5 years. He actually graduated. I forget what he graduated, but he graduated in May. Good for him. So you know what I mean? He's not an early declare. He's a little older. He's 23. The speed might not be elite, and they're reading some of the draft profiles. One thing that seemed consistent was they say people think he has a limited route tree, which we've heard that about receivers before in college. You can only do what the team asks you to do, and a lot of times colleges aren't in the business of teaching you how to do things, right? Because they need those wins. He got the Ole Miss last year. They're like, we got you for 2 years. We're not teaching you shit. You know these routes, do that. You do that well. When you get the pros, good luck learning new routes. So it's not to say he can't do those things. It's just maybe they're in a position where they didn't feel like teaching him, but they're not in a position to actually teach him the routes.
Yeah, I mean, I get it 100%. Those are. You got to come with your own skill set, kind of thing. So,
right,
JT, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, people are going to end up probably knocking the 40 time a bit. Say like, he's maybe not as explosive as other guys off the line. He's a guy consistently one deep. I mean, I guess my thing is like, if you're 40 times slow and you look really slow, then I'm like, okay, now I'm concerned. If you're 40 times not elite, but you look good on the field and you're constantly getting by guys and burning guys, I feel a lot better about it. And he does that. So again, he might not have that high end speed, but the guy can get by guys. He knows how to run routes and get by you and make the catch. So I'm less worried about that than probably other people will be, especially when you get to the guys that are super analytics and they're just like, well, if he doesn't run a 4.45, I don't want him, and I'm like, great, let him drop to me. I'll take him. I mean, anything under 4.55, I think is solid for him. I'm not worried about it. Like Shane said, the route tree people complain about. I mean, like he said, they're running specific systems in college. They want you to run to certain areas. That's what they're doing. It's not his fault. They're not, it's like people always say, oh, well, he doesn't run any crossing patterns. Well, he can't run them if they don't tell him to run. If they don't have that in the playbook, that's not his fault. He's the X wide receiver. They're trying to get him deep downfield and make big plays. Well, you know what? That's what he did. That's what I want to see a guy do. Can you do the stuff your coaches are asking you to do and do it well? Yes, that's what he did in college. So that to me is more of a positive than a negative. He is a little bit older of a prospect, but again, a guy changed positions, grew from a small school all the way up. To me, that's not as much of a knock on as if I went to a bigger school right off the bat and just could not find any playing time. I'd rather see a guy that I could see literally year after year progressing, which you saw with him. He just got better. First year at Louisiana Tech, second year, he was really good. Went to Ole Miss. You thought, okay, there's probably going to be a drop-off. Nope, had almost as good, if not better, production at Ole Miss than he had the last year at Louisiana Tech, and then was off to a monster start this year before the injury. So that to me is not as big of a deal as some other things. Some of the strengths for him that I like, I think he's really great at the catch point. I think he's really great at going up, using his body control, going up, getting the ball. I've talked about this with other tall wide receivers. Nothing drives me more insane than guys who don't go up and catch the ball high when they're tall. Why are you letting a small DB get into you and knock the ball away? He goes up and gets the ball. And I call it the Chase Claypool effect. Are you a guy that can use your size and go and use your advantage? Or are you a guy that catches the ball at your waist, and so a 5'9" guy can guard you, even though you've got 5 or 6 inches on him, because you're letting that guy get to the same catch point as you. So I like the fact that he goes up and gets the ball, has a nice track. He's got great tracking ability on the deep routes, able to adjust in the air, figure out where he needs to move. He catches the ball naturally. Some guys, even though they've got decent hands, they're a little more of a clapper. He does a really good job of getting his hands in the correct position depending on where the ball's coming in, which I really like. Prevents him from having a lot of drops because his hands are in the right position when the ball comes in at different angles. So that's another thing that I really like about him a lot. And I just think he's a guy that on the right team, I think he can block. And I think there's going to be teams like if you put him on a team, say like the Steelers, that has that push to make guys block and block hard. I think he's a guy that can be a very good to above average wide receiver blocker on running plays in the NFL. So I like that a lot out of him as well.
Yeah, I mean, even with 4 games less this year, he's already smoked last year's 12 game usage or yardage and totals and everything across the board. So he's getting one of those guys who just gets better. He's aging better. He's playing better. The NFL is just he's hitting his stride right now. He didn't need to come back. Didn't need to rush back from an injury. Didn't need to. Guy's just a stud, and it is what it is. So he's gonna. There's not many teams in the NFL who couldn't use a guy like Tre Harris. So I'd be kind of hard pressed to find someone who he couldn't fit on to be a great fit on any NFL team right now. So there's not too many bad things to say about Tre Harris. I mean, the guy, when you ball out, you ball out. It is what it is. I mean, everybody's got the possible lack of his route tree is like concerning from some. I heard some people say route tree possible. I mean, hey man, if you're good at something, you're good at something. You don't need to know every dig route and everything like that across the board to be good. He's a stud, man. Got 1,000 yards in 8 games with 7 touchdowns. I mean, come on, man. Don't you quit? Now people are just kind of are nitpicking for no reason in this situation. And when you're big like that, nobody wants you to cut across the middle on a 3-yard dig, shit like that. You have a skill set for a reason. So, speaking of if there was an NFL draft, Shane, like where do you think he's going to go in the NFL draft? When they had the NFL draft, where do you think he's going to go, around what range, and possibly what team would you like him to see it at?
So most of the mock drafts I've seen, at least the ones I respect, have him late first, mid second. I think Daniel Jeremiah has him in the mid second. I didn't pay for it. I can't find his mock. I'm pretty sure it's not free, so I'm not going to see it. But what I can deduce, looks like he had him in the mid second. Lance Zierlein had him in the 20s. And just looking on mock draft database, NFL mock draft database, I think he was 29th overall. So he's probably a late first, early second round type of guy. And yeah, there's tons of places that could use a player like that, but specifically, there's a couple that probably stand out. It'd be Buffalo. They need a legit wide receiver 1. They need an X. So that works out well. Go ahead, Baltimore. They need an X, right? They've got all these little speedy Gonzalez dudes, like all these little quick guys, Zay Flowers and whatnot. So they need a little variation to that offense. Where else did I say? Yeah, and there's a common theme also. Like I'm sending them to places with quarterbacks in place because I want him to do well. Denver, I like Sutton, but I think they could use him there. He's probably last on this list. I should probably went with New England or Washington. New England would be fun with Drake May, because Drake May, I think, is going to be an elite quarterback. And now I know there's a lot of chatter about them going with Ted McMillan, but maybe they wait to the second round and go with Tre Harris for him. So any of those teams, I guess, like I said, first one is probably Buffalo. Baltimore's my second. And as I look through this, New England's my third. That's where I want to see him go.
New England, Washington. Yeah, Buffalo, of course, because I want Josh Allen to have as many weapons as possible. So that's just selfishly picking him. But I think Washington seems like probably the favorite. I've seen him in a couple mocks going to Washington. So
I don't like that. Absolutely like that. No.
I'm sure you don't. JT, how about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I actually like those spots that Shane said a lot. I think those are good spots. If he goes to the end of the first round, I absolutely can see it. If he sneaks into the second round, I definitely think New England, like you said at the top of that second round, if they don't go wide receiver with the fourth pick, I think that could be a nice spot. I also think the Steelers, if the Steelers don't go wide out in the first round, if somehow I think, if Emeka Ibuka or Luther Burden got to them, I think they would probably go there. But if they don't, and they go say cornerback, because they definitely need cornerback. I know they like a lot of the guys on the defensive line in this draft. If they go one of those routes, I think they would be all over trying to get Tre Harris at the top of the second. To me, that feels like a Steelers pick.
The only thing about the Steelers, and I did think about them, right? Because they could use that type of wide receiver. I don't know who's going to be playing quarterback. That's my only concern. Like, so I'm kind of hoping, like, I'm wish casting.
But
they definitely could use him there. It's just how well are they going to utilize him? I like Justin Fields probably more than most people. You know what I mean? He fed DJ Moore and made him a monster. So if Justin Fields is starting there, maybe
I agree. I'm a Fields guy. I hope that happens, but I do think the Steelers would be really high on him at the top of the second if they didn't get him in the first. There's a couple spots he could go. Would the Chargers go back and take another wide out?
That's who I was thinking. I didn't want to say Chargers earlier. Exactly.
Do they go back and the Raiders go, or do the Chargers go, hey, man, this would be a nice spot? Here's another one. What about the Raiders in the top of the second round? That's another spot where I could see the Raiders being like, hey, we got Bowers.
Yeah.
We got a couple other guys. Like, he would be, if they went QB with like a Sure Sanders at 6 and then come back and take like a Tre Harris in the second round, I think that would be a nice little combo there. So there's definitely, I think, some of these wideouts are going to fit better on certain teams. I actually think Tre Harris has a lot of teams that he would be pretty nice on.
Tre Harris with Mayer and Bowers across the middle everywhere.
I just think that would be really nice. I mean, I think Lamar Jackson would absolutely love him with the Ravens. The same thing with Josh Allen at the Bills. If you're looking for fantasy, those might be two of the prime spots for him to land. Because I just think with the way those guys throw the deep ball and the way he can get by guys, I just think those could be prime landing spots.
So, it's funny about Baltimore. The reason that came to mind is I was listening to what was I listening to? I think it was Todd McShay's podcast, and he had the GM on for Baltimore, and they specifically said, like, we don't have an X. Like, that's what made me think of Baltimore. That might be the best spot considering everything.
Well, look at the very semi-reasonable stats Rashad Bateman had, especially touchdowns, with not being very good. I mean, can you imagine that spot all of a sudden going to Tre Harris? Like, right. Oh man, he could be a touchdown machine there. I mean, he could be a guy you don't need to have 80 catches. He could get 60 catches, 1,000 yards, and 8 or 10 touchdowns in that kind of system, throwing the ball deep with the way they run the ball. It'd be sneaky good.
Yeah.
100% that would be a monster spot for Harris, of course. Yes.
Monster. Yeah. I mean, look, there's not many teams that don't need a legit X receiver, right? I mean, obviously, and it depends also, like, the other type of wide receivers you have. Are they like target vacuums, target holes, like, so that, Cincinnati, obviously, they got 2 wide receivers that are one's elite and one's good. Eagles, they have an elite wide receiver and then a good wide receiver. So those teams, it doesn't make sense. I didn't think of the Chargers, but I do like that one too. Because I like Ladd, but he's not, I don't think he's the one there. I think he can be a very good, what he is, a number 2 receiver. But yeah, that would really help Justin Herbert out.
Number 1 by default, but he would definitely be a great number 2 for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could be good, like 1A, 1B there, with both those guys. I like, because they don't necessarily do the same thing. So I think that'd be it. I have a lot of Justin Herbert, so I would like that for Justin Herbert shares. I mean, that's for sure. I would love to see him have some more people to throw the ball to.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to talk about rookie dynasty drafts, okay? So let's talk about full PPR. We'll just stick with the Superflex, Dynasty, tight end premium, full PPR with the tight end premium, let's just say enough to keep us away where tight ends are a little bit more valuable. So we kind of get a more 80 Superflex 0.75 tight end premium with a full PPR for running backs and wide receivers. Where we right now that you've been doing a lot of drafts, so where's Tre Harris going in a lot of your drafts so far to kind of ADP for you guys?
I mean, it's been mid to late second. It feels like out of sight, out of mind, and just people are slamming. Yeah, there you go, middle of their second. It feels like people are slamming their running backs. And I get it because this running back class is really good, but the wide receiver class is not as strong, right? So obviously it's scarcer because that's how that works. I think we might be better served like drafting a wide receiver, knowing that third round I can draft another running back that's probably not going to be that much worse than the guy I could have gotten in the mid to late second round. Again, this is all before the combine. He goes out there and somehow runs a 4.49. And he is definitely 6'3" and 215. Then the thought process might change on him. So we have a lot of time, but right now you're getting him in the second rounds, which I hate leagues that have the rookie draft before the NFL draft.
Right.
But this is one player I think that would actually be good for you, but I still hate the idea of it. I
say this all the time. These ADPs and these rookie drafts, and it's nothing but liquid right now. These values, these draft positions, these rankings, this and that, they are 100% liquid right now. They change every day. There are going to be significant changes. Some guys are going to go from the fourth round to the mid-second round. Some guys are going to go from the first round to the mid-third round. It's all going to change. The more information we got, the more we process, the more things are going to change. So, don't stamp our guesses right now. Don't stamp everything you see on the internet. Oh, he said this or they said this, or, everybody's doing their best. But as the information comes in, things change, man, and it's okay. Landing spots determine draft capital.
Right.
Landing spot is important, but draft capital is how much these teams spend on these players is a big deal too. And where they land at, even though it might not be the best, draft capital, sometimes landing somewhere just they get lucky, So all that stuff's got to be taken into consideration still. So yes, I think mid-second is pretty much the consensus right now for where he's going in most drafts. Right around Tez Johnson, right around Matthew Golden, right around a couple other wide receivers, like Jaden Higgins, who he's not very different from Jaden Higgins. So, Jaden Higgins is almost the same size as he is. So there's we'll see what happens. So how these guys get separated, where they're going to be at. But anything else to add about him?
I was going to say that's kind of like I think if you're getting them there in the mid-second, that's a steal. If he ends up going in the first round to one of those teams that we talked about, the Ravens, the Chargers, the Bills, I can't see him get out of the first round of rookie drafts. I just can't. Like, people are going to love it if he's got a good QB. If he goes to a team with a good QB, I think teams are going to be all over him at the end of the first. And you're going to see those teams that pile up on running back because there are a ton of good running backs. But like Shane said, like you're looking at like, do I want to take running back like 8, 9, 10, or do I want to take wide receiver 4 or 5?
Right.
I think you're going to end up seeing, and while I love a lot of the running backs, and I want to pile up on running backs in this draft like everybody else, man, if Tre Harris is sitting there at the end of the first or beginning of the second round, depending on what my team needs, if I'm not just absolutely desperate for a running back, then Tre Harris is going to be up there on my list. He really is. And like if you had a draft, you're drafting right now that before, you're going to get a steal with Tre Harris. I mean, you're absolutely going to get a steal in the mid to late second round with him, where he could easily move up post combine, post draft. I mean, he's not going to be the athletic freak, that a BTJ was, Brian Thomas Jr. He's not that guy. So he's not going to jump up for that reason. But if he proves and shows what he did in college, that has that solid athletic traits, he doesn't have to be out of this world, but he has solid athletic traits. I think you're going to show a guy that easily could go late first round to a good team or early second round to a team that needs wideout, but couldn't take him at the top of the first round. So they waited to the top of the second round. And you see a lot of those guys like last year when you saw a lot of those guys coming off the very end of the first round, very beginning of the second round. And then all those guys jumped into the late first round in fantasy drafts.
Shedeur to the Raiders. And then
you go Shedeur, Tre Harris, and I could get both of them. You tell me that I could get Shedeur at like 1.3, 1.4 if he goes to the Raiders, and I could get Tre Harris at like 1.2, 2-3, 2-4 in the second round,
Boom.
I would stack that. I mean, all day long. I'm taking that.
Those are things that move
phenomenal.
ADP and draft capital. I mean, that's those are things that make rookie drafts move for sure. Absolutely. So, all right, Shane, thanks a lot for joining on it, for jumping on us today with the Tre Harris 411. All the stuff you know, all the stuff you want to know, all the stuff you can help us know. So, where can everybody find you at again?
On Twitter, I just updated my name. It's Shane Says FF. Literally last night.
You're not the worst anymore?
No, literally.
I was gonna say, I saw the Twitter thing. I was like, wait, that's not the Twitter handle I have that I follow.
Yeah. Literally during the Dynasty Trades and 5 live stream that we do every Tuesday on our YouTube channel, and then on DD Fantasy YouTube channel, Fantasy Football channel, you can find Shane Says weekly-ish, and then Manic and Chill weekly, and in the Discord in the DD community. If anyone wants to try that out, hit me up, and I can give you a promo code to save you some money.
Definitely check out the Discord. I'm in the DD Discord. Great spot. Looking at trades, getting evaluations. If you're in there trying to figure out, hey, should I make this trade? Great feedback there. A ton of people voting on what's good on there. Love that spot. So again, I tell everybody I watch the trade show all the time. I know John likes that one, and then the draft shows. I've been loving the draft shows every week. Been fantastic. Give me ideas about all the different leagues I'm in, because I'm in so many different types of leagues. I like to see the different show where everything's not the same, because it does. And you see it on that show. You watch it, and the draft values change drastically depending on league settings, which I love to see.
Yes, absolutely. I'm in a lot of similar leagues. I just like super flex. I like tight end premium. I like PPR. I like deep leagues. I like points for carry, things like that. Yeah. Points for first down, things like. So it's not that I like to. I'm not the guy who's going to force a whole bunch of different settings, but it is cool to see where people are going in different settings. Across the board. When it's cool to see like, oh, it's a one quarterback format. Man, this guy moved up 10 spots, or this guy moved 5 spots, or this guy moved up whatever. It is cool to see those kind of formats. But I'm kind of rat-holed myself in now, like. You know what you like kind of thing. I know what kind of fit. I don't walk into Baskin Robbins and get some kind of weird ice cream that they just showed up. I know what I want, man. Give me the good stuff. Give me the chocolate, peanut butter, all that shit. Let's go. I know the sweet spot, man. So
yeah.
But I'm John McGlynn. JT, where can everybody find you
at JT Orange on the X? All my writing rookie profiles. We're talking about them here, but if you want to see the ones I've written over there at DLF.com, you can check them out there. And then, just stick around if you're here. Stick around about 15, 20 minutes. We're going to do a super flex 1 PPR, 1.5 tight end premium mock draft, 2 rounds, rookie draft on the Stew with JT Brew here on Fantasy and Frames. So stick around if you guys can.
Fantasy and Frames, Dynasty Evaluation. That's us. We are here. We are going to keep pumping out these rookies across the board. Get them going. We're going to do as many as we can. And Shane, thanks for getting the ball rolling. Thanks for helping out with our rookie profile series here. I really appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot. And we will talk to you guys later.